that if there's anyone else who is selling the same product as them, that it's the end of the world. But the truth of the matter is that's just how Amazon works. So you always have to remember the end customer when you are selling on Amazon. And unfortunately, a lot of new sellers think that they can launch their product and sell on the very high end, in line with what the top seller is selling for. And the simple answer is that you cannot do that because you don't have as many reviews as them. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited for today's video because we're going to talk about something that I get asked very, very regularly, which is why is my product not selling on Amazon? And I want to go through the different contributing factors as to whether or not your product sells 100 units in the first week or 1 unit in the first week. There are different things that you can look out for, and we're going to talk about it in today's video, so keep on watching. Before we get started, go ahead and click on that subscribe button if you are not already subscribed to this channel. I drop new videos on Amazon FBA and e-commerce 2 times a week, so I would love to have you as a subscriber. And with that, let's jump right in. Before I get to listing out the specific factors, I want you all to know that Amazon is a free marketplace. This means that there are going to be multiple different people who sell the same product, and you have to make peace with that. A lot of times new Amazon sellers think that if there's anyone else who is selling the same product as them, that it's the end of the world. But the truth of the matter is that's just how Amazon works. It's just the same way that if you go into a grocery store, there are going to be multiple brands that sell bread, right? You've got Wonder, you've got Sara Lee, you've got Nature's Own, and all these different brands. And they all make money because they all offer something that is slightly different. They all appeal to a certain customer. And just to expand on that example even further, the way that I think about it at least is people who eat Wonder Bread, they don't really care about the nutrition factor. They're not eating that bread because they want something whole grain or something that, has whole wheat and nutrients. They're eating it because they need bread, right? They need something to put their sandwich on. That is why they're getting Wonder Bread. But then when you start to get into some of those more niche bread brands where, they've got 7 grains and they're made out of whole wheat and they're, super nutritious and they come fortified with this and extra that, then you're appealing to a different type of person, right? You're appealing to someone who's more health conscious or who is trying to be more nutritious with their food, or maybe they're cooking for young kids and they want to make sure they get their vitamins or whatever the thought process is. So there are different customers that they're appealing to, and you want to think that same way when it comes to Amazon selling. There are going to be other competitors who are selling the same thing as you, but what are you doing that's different? How are you differentiating, and how are you standing out amongst everybody else in your niche who is selling a similar product? And you guys have heard me talk about it so many different times on this channel, but I love bundling as a way to differentiate a product. But you could also do things such as using different materials or having, a different method of assembly that is simpler, that will take half the time as your competitors. Those are different ways that you can differentiate and appeal to a different type of customer. Maybe yours is a bougier looking version. Yours is more higher end, high quality. You're not gonna, appeal to those customers who are very price conscious, the ones who are looking for the best deal. That's out. They're not gonna go for yours. But the people who don't mind paying extra for quality, who are looking for something that is maybe more nicely put together or higher end or will last longer, they're willing to invest more money. So that's who you're appealing to. So you always have to remember the end customer when you are selling on Amazon, so that when you're in the product research phase and you're in the manufacturing phase, you can make sure that you are doing the things that are going to appeal to that specific customer. Now, that's not exactly the topic of today's video, but it kind of lays the groundwork. So now I can tell you guys what would contribute to you making a lot of money or not making a lot of money, because you have to understand what the customer is looking for and who you are actually trying to sell to. In order to explain my perspective on these factors, I am thinking of a question that I get asked all the time, which is, Abby, I've launched my product on Amazon and it's not selling, right? I'll get DMs or people even in the comments here on YouTube who will ask me that question. And my first thought, without even knowing what product they're selling or knowing anything about their niche, is, well, is your listing optimized? And the reason that I say that is because having a listing that is optimized is going to set you up to be able to appeal to that customer that you are targeting. So when I say optimizing a listing, what do I mean? Well, when you're selling on Amazon, you don't have your own separate website. You are selling on Amazon's website. So it's amazon.com/ bio, blah, 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 and a bunch of letters and numbers after that. That is your website. So it's your listing. And on your listing, there are going to be a bunch of different things that you can customize. Now, you can, of course, put in your own title, and that title that you use on Amazon is going to be one of the most important things to ensure that your listing gets the visibility that it needs. What you have to make sure is that your title and all throughout your listing, you have very relevant keywords with high searches. What do I mean by this? Relevant keywords are ones that pertain to the product that you're selling. If you are selling a spatula on Amazon, of course, your main keyword is probably spatula, but there are other keywords that could pertain to that spatula. Maybe it's a silicone spatula, maybe it's a wooden spatula, maybe it's a plastic spatula, maybe it's a spatula for using on the grill, maybe it's a mini spatula, maybe there are different types of spatulas that you can have. So there are a bunch of words that you can use that'll make sure that your listing gets shown whenever someone types in any of those keywords. You don't want to only show up for spatula, you want to show up for other keywords as well. Kitchen utensil, kitchen tools, those are keywords that are relevant to what you're selling. So the title is very, very important to have optimized with juicy, relevant keywords. Very important. Now, the other thing that you want to make sure is that the photography for your listing is on point. When I say on point, I mean your photos should be clear and crisp. You don't want blurry photos. You don't want low quality photos. That subconsciously is going to plant a seed in the mind of your customer that the product is not going to be high quality if the pictures aren't even high quality, right? So make sure that you are getting these photos either done professionally. You can DIY them yourself. Honestly, it's pretty easy to take your own product photography if the product is simple, and even if you have an iPhone, I mean, you could probably take pretty decent pictures yourself, but you have to make sure that they are clear. And the other thing too is make sure that you incorporate different types of photos. You want not only a main image that displays the product on a white background, but you also want lifestyle photos. How does this product look in the wild? If I were to use the spatula, show me the spatula in the kitchen, show it to me in a drawer, show it to me being used to flip a burger, show me the item in action. That is the importance of lifestyle photography. And then last but not least, you also want to make sure that you have infographics. Now, infographics are going to show certain components of the product more closely. With the spatula, it's pretty simple, but maybe you have some kind of a unique design, or maybe your spatula is like super duper thin so you can get the perfect pancake, or I just made that up. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but you get what I'm saying. If there's some unique feature, which there should be, about your listing, highlight that in an infographic. Make it so that the customer, when they're clicking through your photos, are like, oh wow, I didn't realize it had this. Oh wow, I didn't know that it had that. Make sure that they are able to get all the information they need by looking at your photos. Some customers do not read. They're not going to read your bullet points. They're not going to read your description. They don't care. They want to see, is the price right, and do the photos look good? And then also the reviews are what they're going to put a lot of emphasis on. So make sure that your photography is A1, and that will definitely help with the optimization of your listing. I just mentioned the bullet points and the description. While they matter, they are not going to be the most important things. It doesn't mean you should not do a good description or not, make a great series of bullet points. You should still do that. It's just not something that every customer is going to pay super close attention to. But there are going to be some who want to make sure, okay, they have the measurements, and they're going to go to the bullet points to see, the dimensions of the item. How much does it weigh? Can it be used for this purpose or that purpose? So something else you want to include for sure. I also just mentioned price point. Now, this is very, very important because for a lot of people, the simple fix to their product not selling is that they need to lower the price. And unfortunately, a lot of new sellers think that they can launch their product and sell on the very high end, in line with what the top seller is selling for. And the simple answer is that you cannot do that because you don't have as many reviews as them. So as you are growing your reviews and as you are gaining traction on your listing, very simple, try pricing it lower. If you can get the price point to something that's competitive, then you're giving customers a reason to give you a shot. Now they feel like, okay, wow, look, the photos are amazing. Look, everything else looks great about this listing. And the price is right. So they're going to, give you that shot. And the amazing thing about Amazon is you don't have to stick with the same price point. It's not like you launch at $10.99 and now it has to be $10.99 until the end of time. Tomorrow you could increase it by 50 cents if, you make a lot of sales and you want to experiment. See, hey, my product is moving really well at $19.99. What would happen if I bumped it up to $20.99? What would happen if I bumped it up to $21.99? You want to experiment, and you want to make sure that you are finding that balance between my product is selling as quickly as I want it to, and also it's priced in a way that makes sense. If you are selling an item where you're pricing it, higher than what everyone else is, but your items are moving slowly, you have to decide, would I rather sell 5 units at $25.99, or would I rather sell 20 units at $19.99? You work out the numbers, you look at your profitability, and then you weigh out, which one is going to leave more money in your pocket. That's what's most important, not an ego thing, not I think that mine's worth 25. No, that's not how it works, okay? No matter what you think it's worth, the true value of your product is what the customer is willing to pay for it. So if no one's buying it at your price point, I'm sorry, that's not what it's worth, okay? You just have to be more pragmatic and detached from that side of it, and not feel like it's a personal, issue about you if the product needs to be cheaper. And that's not a you thing, it's just what the market demands, and that's what you have to go with. And last but not least, when it comes to optimization, you want to really think heavily about your product reviews. Now, Amazon has reviews and they have ratings. Ratings is when a customer is able to just click on a star. So they could do 1 star all the way up to 5 stars. That's a rating. So there's nothing descriptive about that. You don't know what they liked, what they didn't like. They're just giving it a star rating. Versus a written product review where they actually say, oh, this product was really easy to use. I loved it so much. That is a product review. Now, it's important that you have both. You want to have ratings because they are easier to accumulate, because it's less work for the customer. Not a lot of people want to sit there and write a whole review, but it might be very, very easy for them to just give it a star and leave feedback that way. So you want to have both. I've talked about this in other videos and on my lives, that you can have Amazon send emails to customers for you called the request a review button. You click on it, Amazon sends them an email to ask them for a review on your behalf. Very high visibility. You'll get much more traction doing it that way than trying to send your own separate emails to customers, which kind of used to be industry standard about 5 years ago, or 6 years ago when I started. That's what everyone did. But now Amazon has kind of streamlined it, and you can just have them do it. And people will click on those more than they will click on an email from you. So that is a cool thing to utilize. Make sure that you are having a little bit of feedback, some reviews. I mean, people that are in my step-by-step Amazon program, which I'll go ahead and link down below in the description if you want me to be your mentor and teach you how to sell on Amazon step-by-step. I would love to see you inside of the program, but inside of there we do have members, and I have a couple of students who have been able to go ahead and start running ads without having any reviews and are moving a lot of inventory. For example, on Monday we just had a Zoom call all together, and I was talking with one of my students, and she was sharing with us that her product was just launched about a week ago, a little bit over a week ago, and she's already sold about 130 units in a week. I mean, that is amazing. It means that she has a product that people want. It's a product that is in demand, and I was super, super excited for her. At the same time, though, she is, spending money on ads and she's making the sales, but one thing that you want to remember is that if a product is able to move without any reviews whatsoever, it's a great product. You don't even have social proof. You don't even have people who can vouch for the item, and people are still willing to purchase it. So my suspicion is that she's doing a great job with her price point. She's doing a lot of things right with her listing, and it's optimized in every other way. And so just imagine what will happen when she gets 3 reviews, 5 reviews, 10 reviews, 20 reviews. It can only go up from here. So basically I was advising her, you got to start preparing for your next shipment, have those conversations with your supplier early, and ensure that they're going to be able to, produce your product quickly and have it shipped out ASAP, because at the rate that she's going, she's going to be out of inventory, in less than a month. So it's definitely something to try to plan ahead for. But either way, the point that I'm trying to make is that having those reviews can only help you, and it's really, really a positive thing if you can get a head start on those reviews, gathering some friends and family who will be able to leave you reviews. I've talked about it in the past. These are people who you cannot be, connected with on social media. They shouldn't be in your same household, have your same last name, name, so on and so forth. I think y'all kind of know that by now, but either way, that is something important to keep in mind as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out this video. Those are the things that you want to think about when it comes to whether or not your product is viable and why you may or may not be making sales. If you are a member of my step-by-step program, I can do a listing audit for you. I can take a look and see if there's anything that's missing or things that you can improve upon in order to drive more sales to your listing so you can make even more money, which is what we all want. So anyway, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it on out. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.